We'll turn it over for a really short one from Paul Preston. He had, were you going to read that?
Oh, never mind, here it is. This is a sad note from Tim Donnelly, and I just love starting off on sad things, but this is important. It says, this is from Tim Donnelly. It says, I'm asking you to take a moment to pray for my sister, Brooke Smith, who is in serious distress and is currently missing. The police have not been able to do much, but I'm asking you to join me in interceding with our Heavenly Father, who can do all things, and asking the protection, comfort, and safe return of my sister. And thank you in advance for joining your faith with ours for her sake. Godspeed. She was last seen in Clinton, South Carolina, and we believe she is traveling in a 2011 Toyota Camry. So that's from Tim Donnelly, our very own Tim Donnelly. You're getting a phone call. Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Before you get started, I got an idea to get the rent down. Everybody bring their own toilet paper.
Okay. Hello, starting on such a good note. Great presentation by a very good friend of mine. And years ago this month, I actually announced that I was starting Agenda 21 Radio. And I was counting the years, it kind of goes by really, really fast. In fact, I announced it when Debbie was in the Capitol building at the same time we were at a meeting. So it's really kind of a nice thing to have us together tonight. All right. How many are new to this meeting and never heard me speak before? Anybody? Oh, wow. Oh, a couple of people. Well, I'm going to tell you, now that you've heard what she had to say, because we know that there's a learning curve about Agenda 21 and all the things that are kind of enclosing and encapsulating us right now. So I'm going to tell you what I say at the beginning of each hour of my radio show. And I want to know if it rings any bells now. I start out my show by saying, well, hello and welcome to Agenda 21 Radio. This is the radio show that is stopping totalitarianism one community at a time. Do you know that my radio show started out one tiny little show, 2 hours on a Saturday? We now have 30 radio stations. People are getting the message. Do you know that I was offered syndication? And we got into discussion. One of the things about syndication was you can't say stopping totalitarianism one community at a time. They wanted me to use the other byline on my show, which is American exceptionalism for the 21st century. And I said, listen, guys, the way I look at it, if we don't get the word really out about the totalitarians, I think this syndicate probably has maybe 3 years max to exist. I said, I'm not taking the deal. Now we have another 5 radio stations that are going to come on. We haven't announced who they are yet. But we'll be up to 35 before the end of this month. The word is getting out. Because things are starting to resonate. Do you see why I do the totalitarian bit now? Because this truly is what totalitarianism is all about on a grand scale and well-financed, right? I got the other good news. There's really one group, an organization on the planet that stands in their way. And we're it, right here in this room. And the resistance is building. Don't think that it's not. Our internet feeds that we've got, and also all the other radio stations that have now chimed into this kind of discussion that we have on our radio show, is growing daily. The new stream media is growing every single day, and it's outpacing the old stream media. So the younger kids, where do they get their news? From shows like mine. The largest demographic I have are the young kids between 18 and 35.
Right.
Anyway, I'm going to kind of give you a macro perspective of some of the things that Debbie was talking about here, so that you understand. My show is truly about Agenda 21, but it's also about totalitarianism. And I break it into 3 segments. I call them the 3 pillars of totalitarianism: communism, National Socialism, and Islamism. And they're all three combined right now. If you take a look at all their ideologies, they're all mixed now, they're all working together for one thing, and that's the destruction of the United States of America. And it's very clear. Tonight, as I know you're going to leave here, in the third hour of my show, if you go to 1410 a.m., you'll hear my discussion, which is a pretty in-depth discussion about what they're doing as a plan to execute a plan and put it completely in place by 2020. So I'll hold off on that discussion. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, just briefly, was this thing. We talk about regionalism, and I talk about that all the time. The word in Russian for regionalism is Soviet. This is Soviet-style governance. Appointed officials, not elected by anybody, they're just a ruling class, and they tell us what to do. Now, I got to tell you something. What Debbie said, I'll bring it home to you, about this whole carbon business, and about what's supposed to happen in December, this is a critically important component of what they're doing. And right now, up in Redding, California, Fred Kelly Grant, an attorney, Baltimore prosecutor, is trying to prosecute the California Air Resources Board. And in that prosecution, he's gathering information about the things that they've done to put themselves in power, maintain power, and then come up with rules and regulations supposedly backed up by bogus science. One of the things is about diesel fuel and contaminants from burning diesel. That's why all these truckers, any truckers in here been given a ticket for violating, you're not going to admit it, I know there's a couple, from the California Air Resources Board, or have you heard about a trucker who's lost his business because of the California Air Resources Board? This is very common in California. They have no legal right to be doing that. Just thought I'd inform you of that. It's completely illegal and bogus what they're doing. They are absolutely non-transparent. Nobody has to see their files or records. They don't have to report financials. There's a bill right now, submitted, I believe it's Jim Gallagher, that says CARB must comply with the open meeting laws of California, meaning Bagley-Keene. Because they don't do that right now. Completely invisible. Mary Nichols rules with an iron fist. Now that brings me up to my point. I had the opportunity to testify on Saturday against CARB in a hearing. It's kind of interesting how this whole thing works. We did a 3-hour special on the California Air Resources Board, which is a regional organization for California. Here is the clue. They're trying to take CARB worldwide. There's 3 places where there's a trading exchange for carbon credits. Geneva, Sydney, Australia, and Sacramento. See how that region's going to build. So this regional board in California is now going to have influence in other states. And in a second, I'll tell you how Jerry Brown just got his hands caught doing that. But anyway, how did this CARB play the game? We did this 3-hour special on CARB. We did a bunch of interviews. Katie Grimes from Flash Report and some other ones was on it. And we hammered CARB. Proudly so. Because it was all truth and honesty. So I get a call. It's relevant now. Some of you are thinking, I think he said this once, but now it's starting to settle in after you heard Debbie. I get a call from one of my listeners, Paul. I know you produced this thing on YouTube because I watched it, and I went to go back to YouTube on your YouTube channel to watch the show again. And it wasn't there. In fact, when you can go there now tonight, and look up January 28th. And if you go to my Google site, you can actually see my picture at the very beginning. But you click on it, and it comes up and says that because the video had threatening information, it was deleted. Just so happens that Mary Nichols is friends with the people at Google who own YouTube. So within 2 days, it was taken down. Now, I asked the question of attorneys. I said, okay, I didn't behead anybody. I didn't burn anybody up in a cage. I didn't do anything like that. Yet YouTube works with the terrorists every day to bring that to you. That's the world we're living in. I didn't burn anybody in a cage. I just didn't. That's the sickening thing about it. But how did Jerry get caught? Katie Grimes, good friend of ours, writes an article. Remember the governor of Oregon? And his girlfriend, whatever she was? Okay, they were under the thumb of Tom Steyer, who's got all the environmental stuff going on. Boy, he's funding all the stuff that we heard about tonight. And he's one of them. Well, here's the deal. Katie Grimes gets a memo, actually gets a series of emails from the Freedom of Information Act from the Washington State Governor's Office by way of an attorney, an environmental attorney named Mike Horn in Washington. Oh, and in the memos, it mentions that these 3 governors, plus whoever is in Ottawa, plus Nieto in Mexico, they're forming their own government. I'm just going to say it's a government. It's a regional program between the governors, and you have an elected official in Canada, and you have a president of a nation, and Jerry Brown's right in the thick of it. Now, that's called lawlessness. That's where we're at. They're moving quick. They're moving quick. They're trying to make this a regionalism type of zone designed for carbon trading. You heard what Debbie had to say about that. That's happening today, right now. They're ignoring the Constitution completely. And oh, by the way, is the president? Absolutely. Absolutely, which brings us up to the next big story. Well, I don't know about that. How many heard the radio show last week on this whole notion about what's going on with amnesty and illegal immigration, as it's called? Anybody hear that? You will listen to it tomorrow night, or go to my archives. I was listening to, actually I got an email, and somebody said, have you heard Mark Levin's interview of a lady by the name of Susan Payne? And that was on the 5th of March. And so I pulled it up and listened to it, and what it was Susan Payne, with a guy by the name of Ted Hayes, had the opportunity to be one of, I think, 18 people to listen in on a series of 3 phone conferences from the White House. Susan Payne is not a friend of Obama and had no business being on that phone call. But neither is Ted Hayes. Ted is black, and he's a black activist. Conservative black activist. They left that part out. And then Susan, I think she's half Cherokee and white. She's from Maryland, and those two know each other, and they kind of said, hey, how come they just didn't put 2 and 2 together. She works for a guy by the name of Pat McDonough, who is an assembly member for Maryland, and he's a Democrat. So they thought, oh, she's a radio personality. She helps him out on the radio show. Obviously, she needs to be there. Here's the plan. Presidential orders, right? Executive orders. President signed 3 of them. Oh, I'm sorry. He signed 2, and Jay Johnson signed the memorandum of understanding for amnesty, didn't he? What were the other 2, though, that the president actually signed? They happen to be dealing with accepting communities and the new Americans. So through these series of conference calls, Susan and Ted got to hear the plan for all these immigrants that are going to come to the United States. Anywhere between, I've heard these numbers, and it's happening right at the border right now, they're already stacking up, 5, 11, or 30 million in the next year. Here's the deal. Priority goes to families and older people. Great. Coming across the border. They're going to be given cash, money, complete acceptance into society. On our dime. On our dime. That's not going to stop. And they're going to be placed in various communities that they feel that they can plan for, that are going to be receptive to these people to be brought into. And over time, 10, 15, 20 years, I think it's 2050 is what they're looking for, everybody that is currently here in the communities is going to be marginalized and pushed out. We're going to be called, now George Norrie's going to love this, shadow people. That was used by an Obama administrator in the White House. That's what we're doing now. You see how am I connecting any dots to UN 21? Now this is what I call this process. This is not immigration. We must understand this.
Call an invasion.
This is not an invasion. This is not illegal or legal immigration. This is human trafficking. And let's get the vernacular down. Because people are going to make money off of these people as they come across the border into America. We're going to be taxed to pay for it. And all the cronies of Obama, who you saw several here, are going to benefit. Why would they ask for elderly people like us? Why would they do that?
Too much money, Australia won't take them.
Oh, you're so wrong. Why is she wrong?
Healthcare.
Healthcare, sure.
Healthcare costs too much, that's what I was saying, that's why Australia is not allowed.
No, listen, you're not getting it. It's called human trafficking. They want the elderly here so they can get richer as they give them health care because the government's going to pay for it.
From
Does that
where?
make sense?
Money from what?
I don't know, carbon sales. Or from you, or from anybody else. Pension funds. Did you see? Am I right, Debbie? It's the pension funds. You saw that big, huge thing there? They're taking pension funds right now. If you're stirs and purrs, they've taken your pension funds. And it's being used for this goal. Oh yeah, I'm glad too. I've got a pension, so I'm really happy. But that's the plan. You saw the trillions of dollars. What was the term that he used, Debbie, to describe such a large amount of money?
A lot of freaking money.
A lot of freaking money. That's where it's going to come from. So that's what it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's human trafficking. With the children, the foster care business will explode even more so. How many have dealt with foster care? Any foster care parents? It's big money. As school superintendent, I work with these people, these companies. $7,000 to $8,000 per kid per month. Why not bring, maybe if you want to have 20 kids from across the border, can't speak English. Oh, by the way, in these new communities, no English taught. No English taught. They'll have their own schools. They've already done this in Maryland, which has, listen to this, the NAACP up in arms because they have these non-English speaking schools only for Hispanics that have come across the border since August. Totally illegal. It totally throws Brown right out. An administrator used to deal with stuff. It's patently illegal. But they're doing it because nobody's stopping them. So this is the future for America. This is their plan. However, we know the plan now. This was supposed to be top secret. Sorry, but the top secret is out. And people are knowing about it now. Now you know about it. And spread the word, exactly. Get the word out. You can go to our website. We've got a bunch of articles on that have come out. Also, there is a plan for California. California came out with a plan see if I have, it's on our website. And this one right here is called California Lawmaker Proposing New Agency to Help Illegal Aliens Access More Benefits. It's by Katie Grimes. And this articulates in California law with federal law. Does that make sense? That's why they're trying to pass it. So these are the kind of things going on. Here's the problem. We stand in the way in a big way. And I know you hear things like, well, what can we do? We're doing a lot already. Because they don't like what we're doing. I can tell you, look what they did to my YouTube. Took it down in a heartbeat. Mary Nichols, she spoke, you know. Well, we'll see her in court. We'll see what happens there. These are defining moments. And things are moving quickly. And we can't hesitate. And I say get the word out. Every time I come up here and speak, it's get the word out. Just getting the word, I say everybody's a community of one person at a time. And you are valuable assets. And you're the chosen ones. I hate to tell you. Debbie, I'm just telling them they're chosen.
I know it's true. There are no white horses. No one's coming to save us. It's us.
No silver bullets. But I'll tell you what, you can have a big impact on what they're doing. I like to promote the internet. I like to promote getting the word out through emails. I get some of your emails. Some of you in the room send me emails, which I really do appreciate. And you are putting CCs on there, so you're sending your emails with your articles to other people. I've got 14,000 people on internet or on my email list, and I send those to them. Well, that's a lot of people. And you never know what's going to happen. You never truly know what is going to happen. So, I just say to you, I implore you to do that. I'll take questions now because I have a whole bunch of things to talk about, but we'll be here till midnight. And you've got to listen to the third hour tonight, yeah.
Well, how does Mary Nichols always manage to stay in government? Because she was in there under Ray Davis.
Right,
And then
right.
when he got kicked out.
Right. She's untouchable. She's untouchable from the standpoint that she's protected. She's in a cocoon, so to speak, of the California Air Resources Board, and all 12 of those people are protected. And that's the way the law has been structured for them. That's why they're still here.
She came on, Arnold Schwarzenegger brought her back again.
Right. All right, listen, Arnold Schwarzenegger's not a friend of anybody's. We're all duped by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger signed AB 32. I mean, and he's a socialist to the max. He's just a ruse, basically. Claire.
I heard of that radio show discussion that a lot of these immigrants going to be coming in are going to be declared as refugees.
Correct.
And they're going to get all kinds of government supplements and special benefits because of refugee status. So
Correct.
$26,000 per person.
It's more like 35.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Minor detail. Yeah, they're going to be given that status and that's from those three executive orders that he signed. He signed 2, and he gave the other one to Jay Johnson to sign. He didn't sign that one. Yeah. Tom. Well, yeah. See that you got. This is where the human trafficking part. Well, the human trafficking part is that who's going to benefit, but the people at the border who bring them across. And then who is that? It's the cartels. It's Hamas and Hezbollah. They're working all together to bring them across. Okay? And they're the ones getting paid tens of thousands of dollars. In certain specific case, they want gangster kids to be executioners. We talked about this with MS-13. That's why some of them are some 7 to 17. In order to be a gangster kid and come across, they have to pay the duty, which is they have to execute somebody to show that they're strong enough to be here. And if you want to see a good example of that, see the pictures on YouTube. YouTube of the young boys executing people. Yeah.
Our national debt will be, I guess, at $20 trillion or higher when O'Donnell's office.
Right. Probably in about 3 days.
Yeah, it's, I mean, how can we sustain that and it just keeps going?
Oh, we can borrow on our pensions. I'm just being facetious, and I truly appreciate what you're saying. I have information, and I'm not privy to put out a lot of information about it right now because I need other parts of the pieces of the puzzle to put it out there to people in a way that I think is digestible. But they are absolutely planning for a financial collapse. This has all been part of the program. All this is part of the program. You see, when you get down to the totalitarians and the people who have designed this whole thing, you realize that one of the major driving ideologies is Nazism. And the Nazis are working together with the Catholic Church. Don't mean to offend anybody, but have you noticed some fairly odd behavior by our Pope lately? That's it. And if you go back and look at the history, and I say this as a warning, I was baptized Catholic. Hello, my family is Catholic, so this hurts. But run-of-the-mill Catholics out there, good Christians, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people who want power and control. If you really look at the power and control structure that they want, go back to 1492. It's back on again. They want the New World again. That's why everybody's Hispanic. And the giveaway, if you noticed anything, or if you understand your California history or history of Mexico, the conquistadors, what did they want to do? What was the first thing they made everybody do?
Give up the gold.
No. No. Give up their language. Speak Spanish. That's what they wanted. These are the reconquistadores that are coming. Which, by the way, is a Muslim term. Yeah.
What happened with El Monte when they rounded up all the Fuentes gang?
Correct.
Has the MS-13 come in and filled that void yet? You know what's going on down there?
I haven't heard in about 3 months what's going on. That was the plan. So in other words, what they're doing is the NSA is running around and pulling in all the gangsters in large numbers in parts of Los Angeles, and they're putting them in prison.
We'll let the other ones out.
Well, no. What they do is the ones that were brought in August are now resettling in those gangster territories. They're taking over their turf. The OGs are gone. So that's the plan. Because you can't. I said this on the radio today. Working with gangsters for a long time, I know a lot of gangsters, been up and down and all this stuff with them. I'd take an American gangster any day over what we have over there. I mean, I'm not showing any loyalty, and I'm not trying to condone the behavior. But, they love America. This is their turf, and they're being displaced right now as we speak. That's part of the plan. So that's human trafficking. That's what we're facing. But, one of the things that we can do, this is why I keep saying it, refer to it as human trafficking. Tell it like it's not. Tell your representative, this is not illegal immigration. This is not legal or immigration per se. It's human trafficking because at the end of the day, somebody is being bought and sold. And God bless the kids, because that's the worst of it, the sex trafficking. And they're very actively engaged in that. So anyway, on that note, any other questions? I know it's been a long night. You still got plenty of time to listen to the show. And you can hear what we talk about in regards to another plan that they have going on, and that's the phasing plan. We're in phase number 4 right now, the 7th phase that Al-Qaeda has put in place for America.
He's done.
And right now, at this time of night, you're probably getting into phase 5, so on the show.
Happy hour, phase 5.
Phase 5 is happy hour, so he says. Listen, thank you very much.
Thank you all.